Hey everyone, welcome to the Good E-Reader radio show. My name's Michael.
And Peter's sitting over here. What is going on?
Well, I've been noticing in the last month or two, there's been a large number of new devices being announced or released,
Hasn't it?
like Tolino, the Shine,
God,
the new
yeah,
one,
yeah.
the Kindle Basic, the Kindle Scribe's coming out soon. All sorts of new devices from like Onyx. It's even going into 2023, there's a ton of devices coming out. Including...
the Hanvon N10 just got announced. The mini note taker there.
Yeah, it's like
It's crazy.
just when you think like everything's kind of announced and released, every single week there's like all sorts of new devices coming out with like.
And then once we're like,
paper.
okay, it's done, and then it's like Fossil Gen 6, and it's like, another one. Yeah.
So let's talk about things.
Let's talk about things.
Bigme Galy.
That's probably the biggest thing, honestly, is Bigme releasing Gallery 3 note-taking. And why that is because up until now, other than the one-off WeWood group, which is, the re-Inkstone Topjoy, which is still questionable to this day, no one has ever released something with an e-paper alternative in a consumer form. There's been a couple things, the Kyobo of early Yawn, and there's been the Hisense Q5 that was like RLCD, but no one's really released like an e-ink alternative product. Like, e-ink Kaleido is the color, and there's e-ink Spectra, which is used for like, McDonald's menu signs, and then e-ink Gallery, and like no one's employed that into a consumer product, but Bigme has.
Yeah, so there's a bit of a timeline with this. So Gallery 3 is using the e-ink advanced color e-paper, which was used for like digital signage for the past 5 years. But e-ink made a concentrated effort to use this and have it compatible with e-readers, e-notes, but make the refresh rate respectable, because
That's
advanced color e-paper, one of the drawbacks is like 20 seconds for things to change. Now it's like milliseconds.
That was the biggest thing, honestly. When you look at the alternatives like Spectra, which takes like 20 seconds to a minute, and then you look at things like Gallery, which took like 9 seconds, you couldn't justify anything outside of regular e-ink Carta, e-ink Kaleido, because it's just so fast. But now that they're starting to overcross each other and play on the same playing field, we see alternatives coming out.
Okay, so let's talk about what Bigme is doing with the Galy. It's an 8-inch color e-note that's using Gallery 3 color e-paper. It will be able to display over 50,000 colors, and the drawing experience will be unrivaled. It will be able to read and edit PDF files in full color, in addition to comics and magazines. The hardware specs are out of this world, and it also has dual cameras with OCR technology. So this will be the first commercially viable Gallery 3 product ever. It's very exciting. It will retail for $6.99 and will come out in January 2023. You can pre-order it right now from the Good E-Reader store by going to goodereader.com/blog/shop.
I'll tell you a little bit about how that, some funny things about it. I remember Mike and his team half a month ago set up a meeting with our Japan office, so me spearheading the Japan office. I went to a meeting with e-ink, and they showed off the Sharp 8 Gallery 3 e-note, and I was like, whoa, this is the first we're ever hearing about this. And that was on October 18th. Literally one day later, on October 19th, Bigme approached us and said, hey guys, do you guys want to collaborate on something? And we're like, yeah, what's going on? And they said, do you want to collaborate on a gallery device? And we're like, oh, wait a minute, how did you know about it? Like, it just got announced like 9 hours ago when we went to the trade show. So it was a crazy set of timelines. So like now that there's multiple players, including Sharp, which is like a mega conglomerate in the world. They make TVs and radios and flashlights. They make everything. Now there's you can see that all of a sudden there's literally multiple players in the game who are making gallery devices. So like, at first, for a split second, my head was like, yeah, gallery in a note-taking form is not gonna take off. That's like a pipe dream. No, it's other companies are employing it already.
Yeah, so one of the things that I like about the Bigme Galy is that the color resolution will be 300 ppi.
That's right.
This is really achieved through, a full color gamut for each pixel. So that's how you're able to have, it being better than Kaleido 3, basically.
Which is weird because they also, when we went to the meeting, announced Kaleido 3. And I actually saw that first. You can see the timeline of the uploads. When we saw that, we were like, oh, cool, Kaleido 3. Oh, you're going to get Fujitsu as a client? They're like, yeah. And we're like, okay, wow, this is big stuff. Then they gave us a little curveball and they said, we're not for sure yet, but currently the way the color technology works is that the PPI, if you have 300 PPI, it actually gets divided by 3. So a third of the black and white PPI is the color PPI. And I was like, oh, that's kind of a huge drawback right now, because that means it's only 100 PPI on the color. And what happens if you have a 212 PPI 13-inch? And they're like, yeah, it'd be like 70. And I was like, oh, okay. So they said they're going to work on things and fix it. But it's interesting to see this shift, how the next generation Kaleido came out, it's compatible with Comfort Gaze, and then they're like, oh yeah, there's a huge drawback to the tech. So, we're just like, okay, this is interesting. Gallery's coming up and Kaleido's going down, if anything.
Yeah, I mean, it all depends on the refresh rate. I know with Gallery 3 Tech, E-Ink has a bunch of different refresh options that work on like the hardware level. So I believe that you could control it with software. So that's how Bigme is doing like different speed modes with this in order to control the refresh rate of like the color, because color in Gallery 3, it's unrivaled.
Oh yeah,
you know what I mean? And compared to like any other color e-paper tech that we've ever seen. So how does this like work in the real world? That's the million-dollar question. I mean, the tech is there. It's running an octa-core processor, 6 gigs of RAM, 120 gigs of internal storage, SD card with an additional 128 gigs of storage. 4,000 milliamp. Wacom screen, so it works with like the Bigme pen. It also works with like various other pens. So Android 11 with Google Play pre-installed. So the Bigme Galy looks like on paper everything that someone would need to have a very robust color experience. But without us actually reviewing it yet, or even actually seeing this like in person, how many colors will be on the drawing app remains to be unseen. How would the refresh rate work with various speed modes when it comes to web browsing, playing games, editing PDFs? What's the page turn speed like in ebooks? All unknowns.
E-Ink standard Carta screens, the ones that are on everything, you know what I mean? The Kindle, the Kobo, the Onyx, they're all really fast and they're tried and tested. And I mean, Hisense is a no better example of being like the fastest refresh of any E-Ink product almost. And then you see the other alternatives like Gallery and Spectra, and traditionally they look better. But like Mike said, there's all these technical drawbacks and like these logistical hindrances. So like, what's going to be the drawback? Is it going to be like, oh, note taking's great, but it can't like pinch and zoom? You know what I mean? It has trouble changing state. Like, what's going to be the thing that is going to, there has to be a negative, because if it's just so good out of the gates that Bigme and Sharp and who knows what other players are going to grab it, why would anyone use Kaleido anymore? You know what I mean? Like, we really, and this is just speculation, like, just we're talking here, but like, why would people use an inferior technology that has like a PPI, drawback and like you know, the colors aren't as vibrant, and like, why would anyone use it? So this is all stuff that's going to be revealed to us when we start getting samples.
Well, when it comes to Kaleido, at least Kaleido 1 and 2 has a strong track record with companies using this technology for commercial viable products.
Yes,
whereas
you're right.
There's no commercial viable products of Gallery 3 at all. So that's why
when I was on the trade show floor, I got to play with the Sharp. The only thing I could see was, the refresh was slower, but all the guys were telling me, you know, all the guys were like, oh yeah, it's going to be fixed. It's going to be fixed. Don't worry. Because, you know, they want to put their best foot forward, right? They don't want us playing with an inferior product. So they kept saying, like, standing over our shoulder with their hands linked behind their back, their little, you know, ID tag hanging from their neck. They're just like, oh yeah, don't worry about that. Like, when I touched it, they're like, oh, don't worry, it's going to be fixed. I'm just like, okay, well, it's just going to be the best thing ever. I'm sorry. Yeah, so it was pretty funny. They said they're going to fix everything. I don't know. We don't know. We have to get some physical samples to really know.
All right, so let's talk about the Fujitsu screens that we saw.
Yeah.
So here's what we know right now. Linfini, which basically develops the screens that Fujitsu uses in the Quadrano line, the first generation, the second generation, and the upcoming third generation that should be released sometime in spring of 2023. We know that it's using an Encarta 1250 display panel, which is the same one that the second generation employed when it came out in 2021. Basically, you get all the advantages of Carta 1200 found in many of the popular e-readers of the world, such as the Kindle Paperwhite, the Kindle Sage. So you get about 20% increase in performance, about 35% increase in page turn speed for both ebooks and PDFs. But 1250 also includes improved pen latency, so it's more responsive when putting pen to the screen. So with the upcoming third generation Fujitsu Quadrano A4, it's going to have a resolution of 1250 by 1920 at 240 ppi. The second generation model only had 1650 by 2200 at 227 ppi. So just with the black and white screen, there is a dramatic resolution increase, which is really nice.
Yeah.
So that on its own will be good. So, you know, like Peter said about the color resolution, the color PPI on this 13.3 inch A4 will only be 80 PPI.
Yeah, that's a big drawback. And unlike a Kaleido 2 or Kaleido Plus, where there isn't that limitation of having a stark difference between the initial PPI and the color, there is currently that trade-off with K3, as they're calling it.
But I mean, we've never seen a 13.3 inch using Kaleido before.
Oh, dude, we've never seen a 13.3 inch using color before. It wouldn't matter. People have been lining up at the metaphorical gates for a 13.3 inch color. I don't think it matters who releases what with what tech. People want it. People need it. It's been a constant topic of discussion. I don't think, without exaggerating, I don't think a day has gone by without our corporation getting at least one question, concern, comment about, is there a 13.3 inch with color? Like, I know you at the news publication, when you're talking to everyone, they always ask. When we do their YouTube videos and lives, people always ask. They need it. So I think trade-offs aside, people are gonna want it, man.
Yeah, I mean, when it comes to the previous generation Kaleido, we've really kind of seen it on all sorts of devices, from like phones to e-readers to e-notes using like a 10.3 inch screen. I mean, even the Bigme / Good e-reader Inknote Color uses Kaleido Plus on a 10 inch device. So, I mean, color is great, but I mean, we've never seen it on 13.3, so Fujitsu will be likely the first person to market with a 13.3. It remains to be seen, like, if Onyx announces anything. So speaking of Onyx, they've released 3 new devices: the Tab Ultra, the Nova Air 2, and the Leaf 2. let's talk about the tab first, because this is probably the most exciting one.
Mm-hmm.
It's probably in the English international market, it's like the first true like e-paper tablet. And so it's going to be providing an experience that we've not really seen before in the English market. Onyx has gradually refined their tab series in China over the course of the past year. In 2022, they've released like 3 different tab models, and they've really said that they are increasing the like performance and refresh rate. So this experience will be like unlike any other. It's using a new Qualcomm processor, a 6700 milliamp battery, 227 PPI.
That's right.
It's like 128 gigs of memory.
That's insane, the battery alone, man.
Yeah, Android 11, Google Play. So it's looking good. The Leaf 2 is something that I'm personally excited about. And
yeah.
We've gotten a lot of pre-orders on it so far.
Yeah, that's I don't really check the store much. I know that's another department of ours, but yeah, it's I know that word around the water cooler and the coffee pot has been it's been good sales. So yeah.
Yeah, so I guess the one compelling thing about this is that it's undergone a tremendous redesign from the first generation Leaf. In order to get page turns buttons, you needed a case with page turns. This is actually right. Page turn buttons are built right into this.
That's right. They had that magnet case with the little rail.
Yeah. So this is using what's the difference between the Leaf and the Leaf 2? Well, this one is using a carded 1200 screen. This one is manual page turn buttons and 300 PPI. The RAM and the storage is pretty consistent across each generations, including like the dual speakers, built-in microphone, G sensor for automatic rotation. But what's new about this is that there's 2 colors, both black and white, but it doesn't stop there. So they have both an option based on the color that you want to be. So the black is like a flush screen and bezel design. So it's protected by like a layer of glass. Whereas the white one actually has a sunken screen and bezel design with no layer of glass. So not only are they offering 2 different colors, but 2 different experiences when it comes to like the overall aesthetics. I mean, some people really like sunken screen and bezel designs, me included, because if you have overhead lighting, if you're reading outdoors, there's no glare because it's just being absorbed by the e-paper display. Whereas if you have a glass-based display, overhead lighting will reflect. If you're in direct sunlight will reflect off of the glass. So a lot of people just read indoors. They're not reading outdoors a lot with the e-readers. So that's, it's up to the person, I guess, right?
I hope that was intentional. I hope it wasn't a manufacturing problem or a delay or a shortage where they're like, oh man, we ran out of flush screens. Because if that's the case, in our history of 13 years, this will have been the only company to ever do that, to give you 2 physical construction differences with the same release product. We've never seen that. We've seen advancements like the Kindle Paperwhite and the Paperwhite 5, like they go from sunken screen to flush screen and things like that. But no one has ever had the same device being released with 2 physical tooled setups. No one has done that. That's going to be crazy.
Yeah, so I'm very interested in reviewing that. So the final device that I think is a little bit underwhelming is the Nova Air 2.
Yeah, that was like
Yeah, it just seems like it's like the Nova Air 1. Instead of Android 10, it's running Android 11.
You know, in the past, that's the only way these guys are able to upgrade Android. I mean, look at every manufacturer, man. That's like the only way. MeBook does it, Bigme does it. It's like, oh, we can't put Android on it. Let's just release a Plus version or like an X version. It's really the only way they can do it.
E-Ink, I mean, Onyx never confirmed with us. Like, I asked them, but they never like replied. Some people are saying that it's using E-Ink Carta HD, but some people have spoken to to Onyx customer service, and they're saying that it's using Carta 1200.
Oh, well, we're gonna have to wait and see when we get our samples. That's gonna be interesting.
Yeah. So.
But yeah, I would agree. That was out of the releases. That would be the most underwhelming, because the two physical choices between flush screen and sunken screen is cool. The amount of peripherals that like the Tab Ultra is getting, like the keyboard snap, the upgraded pen. We don't know what kind of pen they're using, because Onyx has traditionally been kind of flip-floppy with pens. But it's looking like a good release batch, and a much needed refresh.
When it comes to buying ebooks, we spend the money and we buy them, and we can read them, delete them off our unit, and most of the time they're held in cloud storage to be able to be downloaded at a later date. Kobo unveiled some sort of like rewards program numerous years ago, where you earn credits for each purchase that you do, and then those credits can be redeemed for books, but you really have to spend thousands of dollars in order to just get a free book. Amazon has just unveiled a new program in the US called Kindle Rewards, and it is currently in invite only and in beta. The spirit behind the initiative is to reward people who buy digital books or print books and earn rewards on each purchases. Users can earn 5 points on Kindle books and 2 points on print books. Once enough points have been accrued, they can be redeemed for ebook credit. So basically you need 300 points to redeem $3 in ebook credit, and this credit is applied to your Amazon account, which you could be used to subsidize the purchase of a future book. So the average ebook costs around $12.50, so you'll get about 59 cents in credit back. You would have bought the book anyways, and this way you earn points with it. So Amazon did disclose to us that it will be running limited time promotions where you can earn back 2 times the points on digital or print purchases. However, they did not state when they would do it. So this is a free program, doesn't cost anything to participate. It only applies to print and digital books and does not apply to audiobooks, comics, or manga. So it's like invite only, so I couldn't even like see the page, but I've seen like screenshots on like Reddit on like what it looked like and stuff. And a lot of people who are US readers that read a lot, they never received the invite, but they went to like the link that we posted, which will be on our website for this podcast, and you will be able to actually see it and see if you've been approved or not.
That's cool. I kind of feel like they're doing it in a way where it's like they're trying to reward you for buying. You said it applies to print as well?
Yeah.
You can redeem for print, or you can get rewards if you buy print.
So it's basically you get more points if you buy the ebook, but you get
there it is.
But you get like less points if you buy the print book. So
yeah, because they obviously want you to buy the ecologically friendly thing more than the one that hurts the environment. You need trucks to move the books around, whereas digital is instant. It just delivers to your device. You don't have to move, you don't have to use gas, you don't have to use energy or resources. I obviously know that electronics take power, but far less than hauling gigantic trucks down the highway for 18 hours filled with books.
Well, I think it's because you look at the ratio of points. Probably on Amazon, more people buy print than they buy ebooks.
Yeah.
So this is a way
they're trying to change it.
Exactly. So the more ebooks that you buy, the more points that you earn, the more credit you get back. So it's just obviously it's skewed probably at a 5 points for the Kindle books, 2 points for print books. I don't know what the ratio is between those two. I'm not good at math. But
no, and you'd have to check out the amount of sales based on which one, and cross-reference it with the point, rebate and all that stuff. But I understand what you're saying. Yeah, I think that's smart. It also encourages people to stimulate the economy and buy more crap. It really does.
Yeah, I mean, so let's look at this. It all comes down to like numbers. So in July of 2022 in the United States, ebook revenue is on a decline. Revenue was down 6.6 for the amount, like 6.6% of the amount. But it's basically the format generated 82 million in 1 month. But in terms of like print books, it generated 177 million for hardcovers and 273 million for paperbacks. So 82 million for ebooks. 177 million for hardcovers and 273 million for paperbacks, and in just 1 month in July. So that's crazy. That's like the sort of the last, that's the latest month that we have statistics for, because it usually comes back a few months, because all the publishers have to sort of report to the American Publishers Association about what gets sold where. So but I mean, you look at those figures, it's like print for hardcovers or paperbacks together is like quadruple to 10 times more than what ebooks are. So
isn't that insane?
Yes.
Wow.
So as much as we talk about ebooks, it's not the most popular format out there.
No, I mean I mean, obviously it's our industry, we know those numbers, but at the same point, when you really break it down and verbally say it out loud, I mean, that's a staggering difference. There is not enough people buying digital, but I kind of understand it. I mean, when it comes to games too, I mean, I like buying physical games more than I do digital, but yeah, I understand. Yeah, that's pretty crazy. That's a pretty big difference.
Let's talk about the Kindle Basic.
Oh man, the whole Kindle lineup, man. Kindle Basic came in 2 colors, which I can't remember the last time that happened on the Basic line. Correct me if I'm wrong. I don't think the Basic line has ever had 2 colors. The Paperwhite had white with the manga model. The original Kindle keyboard had white and gray. The Oasis had rose gold and gunmetal. I don't think the Basic line has ever had color choices.
Yeah, I don't remember. I know the Paperwhites have always had multiple colors available.
That's right. So this one has denim. So people might be saying, get to the e-reader, but this is important. The ecological benefits of it is important, because that's what they're advertising. That's what Kobo's advertising. That's what Kindle's advertising. A lot of people have made the shift, Hisense and Xiaomi and all these guys have made the shift from plastics to wax papers and cardboards. So Kindle is spouting 75% recycled plastics, which is still 10% less than the Kobo, which they're obviously competing with. But the denim, to get the blue tinge, they couldn't use all recyclables. They actually had to use a nice fresh spool of blue number 7 to mix in there. So you only get a 30% recycled body. But they're using 90% recycled magnesium for the PCB, which is the printed circuit board, the computer chips. So that's really cool how they're using recycled metals, recycled bottles into the body of the unit. I think that's cool, and that's important because Earth's resources are not infinite. They are finite. So the more stuff you use out of rocks and trees, they're going to go away. So anyways, it's really cool. But there was a massive problem with the Basic in that if you look at the comments, you look at everything, everyone's saying like, that's just a Paperwhite 3. And it's true. We're slowly seeing the Basic line step over its territory into the Paperwhite, which I believe is one of the reasons the Paperwhite jumped to 6.8. Because if the Paperwhite wasn't 6.8 inches, there'd almost be no reason to spend the money to buy a Paperwhite when the Basic does everything. It's got a glow light, it's got Bluetooth, it's got wireless audio, it's got 300 PPI. So like, why would you buy a Paperwhite? The screen size, the storage options. So they're giving you reasons to buy it, because it started to overlap to a point where it's just becoming the same thing, which was a very obvious observation both us and our users and our viewers were making. So yeah, it was kind of funny.
Yeah, this is the most storage ever found on like a basic
16.
model. I mean,
That's crazy.
when the 10th generation basic came out, it only had 4 gigs of internal storage, and then about a year later they quietly doubled it to 8 gigs.
Yeah,
so
right.
the Kindle Basic has more storage than the Paperwhite does at 8 gigabytes
You're right.
for that model.
That's right. That's right. That's why they released the 16 gig variant, because the basic even has more storage. Oh my god.
So I mean, the basic in the US is like $99, whereas like, you know, the Kindle Paperwhite 16 gigs is about like 139, 149. So I've never been able to recommend the basic before, mainly because of the sub 300 PPI screen. I mean, I think it had 227 or 212 PPI.
212, I think. Yeah.
So the 10th generation had, and previous generations always had like sub 300 PPI displays. And whether you're a casual reader that reads a book off and on over the course of a month, or you read like a book a week or a couple books a week, you know, screen resolution is important.
Yes, it is.
I mean, we notice it more pronounced because we do a lot of side-by-side comparisons in our news publication as well as our YouTube channel. So whenever a new device comes out, we always compare it to the previous generation, and we compete it to like other devices that are similarly priced, you know, such as Kobo's or Barnes and Nobles. So, you know, so on and so forth. So we notice more because we see the previous generation and the new generation side by side in the studio, and how it comes across in video is different from our eyes in real life, because like our eyes could just see so much better than video and compression and things like that, like actually see for your eyes on a computer screen or a phone or a tablet. But 300 PPI really makes a huge difference when reading. For instance, the fonts are less fuzzy, they're more like sharp. So, you know, I've never been able to recommend a basic before, but I can recommend this 11th generation entry-level Kindle or all new Kindle. So, you know, for people who are looking to buy themselves an upgrade from like an older Kindle, like it's surprising when I don't take public transit a lot. Like I don't drive, so I'm always like cabs, Ubers, sometimes the bus. Like if I'm like just going like 10 or 12 blocks away and I just don't feel like walking because it's raining. I see a lot of Kindles on the bus, but I see a lot of old Kindles on the bus. Like, you know, like Kindle keyboards. Like Kindle keyboards, I see those all the time. Or Kindle Touches. I see a lot of really old Kindles. So if you're the type of person that's like rocking an old e-reader, I think upgrading to the new Kindle for like $99, plus you can trade in your old Kindle and save some money on that as well. This will be night and day, your old Kindle versus like this new Kindle. Just in regard, not even just regards to like the screen tech, but being able to adjust the having a light so you can read at night and you don't need a reading light or overhead light. There's just a light built into the Kindle that doesn't shine into your eyes. It just projects light evenly across the screen. So it's not like reading, looking at your smartphone or tablet at night where light's shining into your eyes and suppressing melatonin. This is the opposite of that. So if you're the type of person that likes to read at night as you're falling asleep, you will be able to enjoy it way more.
You know, I get asked in relation to this, I get asked a lot, like, do you use an e-ink phone and an e-ink watch and an e-ink computer screen? And I'm like, no, man. Like, I love e-ink. It's our industry e-paper, but no, I don't have all these e-paper devices laying around that I use. But I have been shifting the last 12 months, no joke, to before I go to bed, I actually just use one of the ones in the office, an A7cc large screen color e-ink phone, just with Wi-Fi to browse stuff, you know, to look Wikipedia, to look on, you know, people's, you know, social media stories and stuff. Because I find, like, you know, when you have a phone in front of your face before you go to bed for an hour, if you didn't have media on the phone, it would be the same as you holding a flashlight in your eyes for a straight hour. The only reason we don't notice it is because we're engaged by the pixels changing on the screen. So I was just stepped back beside myself, and I'm like, I'm just shining a light in my face for hours on end before I go to sleep, and I didn't like that. So I've been like gravitating towards like using higher refresh e-paper products before I go to sleep, and I feel way better about it, honestly. You turn like the warm light on an A7cc in color with like X mode or like, you know, speed mode. It's quite nice.
Well, sometimes it's hard to get around. You know, there's e-ink watches, so you don't have to look at like OLED watches or Pixel watches or Apple watches. You know, you can get like a Fossil watch or a Sony Fez watch. Those are like the most popular. But when it comes to computer monitors, sure, you can buy like an e-ink like, you know, monitor, but they cost between like $1,500 for like a you know, say like $900 for a 13.3, which is too small for a monitor. If you want like a 25-inch, you're spending between $2,500 and $3,500, and you're either using like the Dasung 253 or the Onyx Book Mira Pro, and those don't really get a lot of media attention. A lot of people don't even think that they exist. You know, Dasung and Onyx books, they're hardly household names.
Yeah.
However, Philips is a household name, and they have just developed and released a new product that is very different from, you know, from devices that have been announced in the past. So it blends the both worlds of a traditional LCD monitor as well as an e-ink display. The 2-in-1 monitor has a 23-inch LCD monitor, and there's an e-ink panel that's 13.3 that's built right into it. But what's interesting is that, you know, for the color monitor, you actually get pretty solid. It's like a 1080p like monitor basically. 99% of the sRGB color coverage. It's pretty good. I think what's interesting about this is the e-ink panel is 13.3. It has 150 ppi. It's, you know, 1200 by 1600. It comes with both a frontlit display and color temperature system.
There you go.
And
you go.
And it's not just like rigid. You can tilt it 45 degrees like the e-ink like monitor. So if you want to like tilt it like for whatever reason, you can tilt it back and you can tilt it forward. So you could, you know, it's not as rigid and locked in place, which is really nice. So with this, it's like you don't have to make the decision to use an e-ink monitor as your primary display or have two different monitors like on your computer's like table, one e-ink and then one you know, and your LCD, your full color one. This gives you the best of both worlds, which no one's ever done before. Philips is selling it for like, you know, you can get it from our store for about like $1,400, so it's still a little bit expensive, but
but dude, not compared to the Dasung and the Onyx right now. And with those guys, it's only, you know, not trashing them, but it's rather expensive, the Dasung and the Onyx, and it's only e-ink, so you don't get that option. You don't get that escape to like, okay, I'm just going to use LCD for the next couple of hours, and then I'll use e-ink before I go to bed. The Philips, you can do both.
Yeah, so I mean, you can extend the screen on both devices. You can have something on the e-ink display and something else different. So think of it as like a multi-screen device, which we never seen before. So I wanted to mention this because it comes from a name everyone heard of. Like I have Philips shavers, you know, I have Philips men grooming stuff. So I mean, when it comes to Philips, I think Philips makes some pretty good tech.
You know what they didn't make?
What?
You know what they didn't make that was good, man? You're talking about all these cool things like, I got the shaver, it's so high quality. You know what I had? I had the Philips CDI with Hotel Mario. Anybody remember that? The failed Mario game, and one of the only times Mario was outside of the Nintendo brand was in 94 from 95. They had the Philips CDI. It was just garbage console. That was funny. No, Philips is really good. That was a one-off anomaly, but yeah, they make some really good stuff.
All right, so last but not least, let's look ahead, if we might, into our crystal ball
Yeah.
and look at what's going to happen to 2023. So the digital note industry, running e-ink technology, is starting to get hyper competitive in 2022, and will go into overdrive in 2023. We now have more choices than ever before when picking a trusted brand and sticking with it for the long haul. Onyx Book has been one of the undisputed leader in e-notes. It has an extensive portfolio of about 30 to 40 products released in the past 5 or 6 years, but they never had much competition, but they do now. So Remarkable built up a brand from scratch and invests a ton of into marketing and social media. Most people have heard of Remarkable, whereas they might not have heard about Onyx, because Onyx doesn't really do advertising and social media channels. They sort of rely on YouTube reviews and the odd like blog review.
Yeah.
So Bigme has become an emerging player in the industry and has built a very strong brand. They are not afraid to take risks with color e-paper and have developed an entirely new device that is employing Gallery 3 called the Galy. And they've also partnered with us for the ink note color. So, Bigme has never been afraid about taking risks, releasing large screen devices that are e-notes, and having a cult following. Fujitsu has made a couple of generations of A4 and A5 e-notes, primarily marketed in Japan, but they do have English and have been very popular in international markets. You have Lenovo that just released the yoga paper, Huawei releasing the MatePad. You look at other brands,
dude, the Kindle Scribe.
Yeah, I mean Sharp, Fujitsu, Amazon with the Scribe, Kobo with the Ellipsa, Lenovo and Huawei getting involved in e-paper devices for the first time. I mean, these are big, well-known companies. I think a lot of people buying e-notes for the first time are going to buy from one of these big companies because they can trust them more than who's heard of Boyu. You know what I mean?
No one.
And that's why, the company went bankrupt and they're not heard from again. Who's heard from Supernote? Like,
Supernote's off the radar.
Yeah, I mean, they don't even go to screen tech conventions in their own country where they're so they don't go to events anymore. They're just like comfortable selling like a couple units a month. But they're on the brink of bankruptcy for sure. But I mean, I feel bad for the smaller companies in the e-reader space that are not well known, that will probably continue to lose market share.
Yeah, dude, there's so many players. I'm not going to go over the ones you just said, but that's actually been something that's been emerging from our viewers and our users that have been saying they're like, guys, there's too many options. And I'm like, no, I mean, there's only 39 brands. There's a lot of options. We haven't even talked about Hanvon on this massive comeback. Hanvon's been in the game. They made color before almost anyone. They've had this crazy decade-long track record, and they've come back with the N10, the N10 Mini, a bunch of e-readers. They're a full-line manufacturer, and they're in English now. I would be safe to say that Hanvon has surpassed Boyu/MeBook in terms of their lineup, the identity, the capabilities, because Boyu MeBook has kind of been slowly just in this stasis mode, if anything, on this downward decline, whereas companies like Hanvon and Hisense is releasing just tons of stuff. The Hi Reader, the Touch, the A9, Xiaomi's been releasing a whole bunch of things all in English, and it's like we're starting to see iReader has a crazy line. They've made pens for other companies like Onyx. They make the tips for Remarkable. They white label their things out. They're making English stuff in November, this month. There are so many players that have either come out of nowhere or have finally emerged from this long gestational period. It's overwhelming, even for us. It's like, wow, look at we're just getting these samples and samples and samples, and it's just so much stuff. it's insane. It's a totally different game than what it was 6 years ago.
Yeah, I mean, it's too overwhelming to like report on all of the new e-readers that come out because there's so many that have come out. You know, like Hanvon, 3 new models like in the past 2 months. Huawei is going to be doing like a smaller version of the Mate paper. Like iReader every couple months releases a new product. Xiaomi has done like a few like sort of mini e-readers with like you know, I don't know. They've done like the ink palms.
The ink palm and they had a W7 Note, which was decent, but didn't really, you know, gain traction.
So, you know, that's the big trend of the e-note industry, has been traditional Chinese companies that have only focused on that specific market are now loading English on their models and trying to expand their distribution outside of China. So whereas some models like Onyx, you know, at least in 2022, they've released more models exclusively for the Chinese market than they've released to like the international market.
That's right.
So they're almost doing the exact opposite of what all their competition is like doing in China, whereas like they seem to be like retreating back to China. Not to say that, you know, and I think partly it's because of all the competition from all these new brands.
That's right.
Chinese traditional brands that used to just do like Chinese, now they're doing English in addition to Chinese. You know, there's all these like new brands emerging. You know, Amazon has been synonymous with e-readers. They popularized the entire industry. The Kindle remains one of the most like beloved e-readers in the world. Everyone has heard of the Kindle. You know, when they announced the Scribe, which was a 10-inch e-note with a 300 ppi screen, which is unheard of.
Oh, that's insane right there. I don't think you guys can understand that. Wait till it comes out.
Yeah, and I mean, it retails for $350. The remarkable, double the price. Most Onyx devices for 10-inch e-notes, double the price. You know, even the Ellipsa is more expensive than that. You know, you even look at what Onyx is doing in 2022, where they released like the Tab Ultra, the Leaf 2, the Nova Air 2. I mean, they're almost expensive or more than the Scribe, which is $350. I mean, that's going to be a huge sea change in the industry. And you can obviously feel comfortable about buying this from Amazon because of just the engineering power that they have.
Yeah,
they're going to be releasing firmware updates up the yin yang on this,
and they have accounts. You know, you can link your account from purchase. You can return it if you don't want it. You get Prime same-day shipping. There's so many reasons to buy it. Just as you know, I don't know anything about cooking or hairstyles, but like as a blind consumer, to say I want to get into e-note, oh look, Amazon Scribe, cool. And I'm not bashing that, but it's true. They have that power to harness that type of person that wants to buy it. It's so easy and seamless and streamlined, and there it is in your hands same day in an Amazon box while you bought your dish soap and your pack of tissues. You know what I mean? It's all there. All the pieces are there, and they got it. They've completed the puzzle, and it's going to be in your hands, and it's going to be good.
And I mean, there's probably no other trusted brand in the world as Kobo. You know, they've been in the e-reader space since 2010. They've primarily focused on a couple of new e-readers every single year. They've firmware updates. They support e-readers made like 10 or 15 years ago. You know, they just don't like issue updates for like the latest generation shit. They do like all sorts of old stuff. So I mean, you know, they're not afraid to support Gen 1 devices because they know people are still using them. So Kobo released the Ellipsa and the Sage, which both also have digital note-taking capabilities.
Yeah.
So the Ellipsa is like a large screen dedicated e-note device, whereas the Sage, it's like a hybrid e-reader / e-note. It doesn't even come with a stylus. You have to buy it extra. So for people who want to take notes, you can. For people who just want a larger screen device to read digital content, you know, you can do that too. So I mean, both Kobo and Amazon, traditional e-reader companies, now getting into e-notes, and that's probably affected market share for some of these smaller companies that used to be financially viable because there wasn't really a lot of people around selling e-notes. Now in 2022 and looking at 2023, with e-notes, you know, no longer just using black and white displays for 10 and 13.3 inch devices, but now we're seeing Collider 3, Gallery 3. We're seeing all these like alternatives that are just coming up. I'm actually writing a story right now about Clear Ink.
Nice.
They've been out of the news for the past couple of years since the company was sold to a series of Chinese investors. Many industry analysts thought the company was dead and the screen technology was never going to see like a commercial release. But they have just announced like a 454 ppi screen that they're demoing off, and they're going to be using that same like high resolution screen in a color one. So I actually saw a video, and I've been talking to the CEO, so I'm actually writing a story on that right now. And other breaking news, I just got this just now. You know how Penguin Random House wanted to acquire Simon & Schuster?
Okay, sure.
So Simon & Schuster is like probably the third largest publishing company in the world, and Penguin Random House is like number one. So they wanted to like buy them for like a couple billion. But a judge at the Department of Justice, they're actually blocking the deal.
Oh.
So the deal looked like it may not go through. So when a company, like when a huge company wants to buy another huge company involved in the same like industry, what happens is that there's antitrust concerns where like, you know, one company would be too powerful.
Well, that never stopped Disney.
Well,
what do you got to say about that?
So I mean, that was approved because it's like, you know, Marvel and Disney with Pixar and stuff like that, Star Wars.
That's a lot of properties, man. You gotta admit.
Yeah,
that's a lot.
But a lot of them that they bought like weren't publicly traded companies. Like Lucasfilms wasn't really a publicly traded company; it was like a private one.
Okay.
Whereas you know, the publishing industry, at least in the English world, is very small. You have like HarperCollins, Hachette, Simon & Schuster, and Penguin Random House. And, you know, a lot of people wanted to buy Simon & Schuster, but in order for that deal to go through, because Simon & Schuster, they publish books in the UK, so it has to be approved by UK authorities. They publish in the United States, they need to be, you know, United States authorities have to sign off on like the merger. So, but the United States did not sign off on the merger, they decided to block it. So here's the quote: "We strongly disagree with today's decision, which is an unfortunate setback for readers and authors, and we will immediately request an expedited appeal. As we demonstrated throughout the trial, the Department of Justice's focus on advances to the world's best paid authors instead of consumers or the intense competitiveness in the publishing sector runs contrary to its mission to fair competition. We believe this merger will be pro-competitive, and we will continue to work closely with Paramount and Simon & Schuster on next steps." So it's like they're basically going to like appeal the, you know, to see if anybody could like, you know, the Supreme Court can heal it, you know, or the higher courts or whatever. So this isn't the end of it, but this looks pretty definitive that, you know, the deal probably won't go through.
Yeah, I mean, that is, you can't have one person own everything. I mean, you can't, especially when it comes to big companies. I mean, weirdly enough, the thing that sustains human life, food, is another thing, because I think 10 companies own literally every piece of food we eat. But that's neither here nor there. Yeah, that's, you know, something that we used to focus on a lot at Good e-Reader when there was a lull in the releases of devices was digital publishing. I mean, Mike and I personally went to like digital publishing events in New York and like Chicago and all these places.
Yeah, Book
when there was,
Expo
like,
America, the American
Yeah.
Library Association. We went to like
when there was only like 2 e-readers in the world.
Yeah.
2013, 14, 15, when there was nothing. Yeah, man, we were like, let's do digital publishing and tablets, and we kept alive. But yeah, we most certainly have no time for that nowadays.
Yeah, I mean, I can, we talk about sort of like the monthly, how many ebooks were sold in a given month, and then we look at, over the last 8 months, this is how many ebooks were sold, this is how many audiobooks were sold, this is how many print titles were sold, because I like to follow the industry, like both print and digital, from like,
oh no, you have to, for sure,
at least from like a monthly point of view. But like, I no longer report on like, in Q3 2022, HarperCollins made this much money, and 8% of their total revenues were like ebook sales and audiobook sales. This is the titles that's, that were the most paid for. I don't report on that stuff anymore because all the articles got views, but they got like 0 comments. So I kind of like report just more on e-readers and like screen tech now, because there's so much coming out like on a daily or weekly or monthly basis that's like there's really no slowing down.
Yeah, dude, I mean, like, we get people all the time that are always like, oh, you're just reporting on Amazon because it makes more money for you. And we're like, well, yeah, we're a business, so we do the research and do the work to give you a proper article or video surrounding something you guys want to hear. Of course, we as a company need to make money, and we need to give you guys what you want. Do you want to see a triple camera setup with 4 days of production work into a Tolino? Not to bash Tolino, but would you rather see the Kindle Basic? It's you got to give the people what they ask for, or they're just not going to be interested. So we need to respect you guys as the viewers and as the listeners and as our users to, hey, we want more Kindle. It's like, sure, we'd love to do the work and do the time and do the research to give you that, because that's what you want to see. And that's what we need to do as a company.
Yeah, I mean, looking at it, the Kindle is the most popular e-reader in the world.
It's the most popular.
And, like, more people have questions about it than there are answers available online. So we film a bunch of mini tutorials, like, how do you, if you're a parent and the kid uses the same e-reader, but they don't have a kid's e-reader, how can you make it so they won't, like, buy a bunch of books or surf the internet? Or, we tell you how to, like, an underrated feature that a lot of people aren't aware of on every Kindle model are parental controls. So we teach you how to do it. We mainly show you things that aren't intuitive, that the average user that has a Kindle might not know about.
And you know what? Almost I even forgot about it. That like we did a video on it, and everyone's like, "Oh yeah." I didn't even remember. I think I remembered like years ago, but Amazon Kindles have flashcards. It's built into like a triple deep dive menu. You can get to flashcards. And I was just like, oh yeah, I think I vaguely remember something on this. And people were like, you should do a video on it. We're like, yeah, okay. And we did a video on flashcards, and it was really interesting.
Yeah, so I mean, we mix those videos up with like reviews. Like I'm still have to do like a Fossil Gen 3.6.
Oh, what a cool
review.
Watch, man.
Like,
you should get on that, you and your guys, man, because I think our team sent you all the photos and everything. It's a cool watch. It's really nice. I'm not going to dwell on it right now because you can watch the video, but it's the most non-looking smart watch that is a smartwatch I've ever seen. It doesn't look like a big square block with like a like a curved screen and like just a glass square. It's very much like a non-smartwatch.
Yeah,
but it's a smartwatch.
So it's cool. Like I'm writing about clearing right now, which hasn't been in the news, so I'm giving people an update on that. Reedy Corporation, RIDI, Korea's #1 ebook provider, released the Read a Paper 4 just now. So it's like 231 US dollars. It's pretty well the most popular reading brand in South Korea. And it's like, okay, I gotta write about this because this just came out. It's like, it's just nonstop, and it's like, so many different devices that from so many different countries that it's like it's sort of hard to stop, because it's
between you and me and everyone right now, Mike, the Hanvon stuff is en route. The Philips, I just got word back from them that they're gonna send us a sample. We got the Hanvon N10 Mini sending us a sample. I mean, Onyx is gonna come out in a little bit. I mean, we're us here at the studio are gonna be sending you guys a lot of media, a lot of videos, a lot of thoughts. Yeah. It's a lot, man.
Yeah, I mean, it just in this episode today, we've pretty well focused on all new devices.
Oh, I'm not even talking about everything in the background, man. We didn't even talk about the Tolino Shine. We didn't talk about like the what came out this month, even like the Dasung A4 came out this month. The Shine 4, we barely touched the Fossil. I mean, there's too much, we're just talking here, Mike and myself, but yeah, you guys should watch the videos on our channel, read the articles. We cover everything, and it's interesting to see just where the industry's going now. You know what I think it is, honestly? Like, we do this every day. I get all the products every day. The biggest shift I saw in the e-reader industry in the last 7 years was when Boyu fell and Bigme rose. That was the biggest shift. That before it was the big three: Barnes & Noble, Amazon, Kobo. That's it. And then there was Onyx and Boyu with the Mimas.
Yeah, it was like the rise of e-notes.
That was it. Once Onyx capitalized on just being the best, because they are, in terms of e-paper tablets, they are and were. And once MeBook Boyu fell, and they took 2 years off basically to get their crap together, and Bigme came out, just opened the floodgates, man. It's like that scene from Endgame where they go through the portal and all of Thanos' troops come through. It's like Hanvon and Xiaomi and Hisense and iReader and Pomera and Mudita and King Jim and Fossil and Scoggin and Croaky. I can't even name them all. And just Avengers Assemble, man. It's just everyone came out. And now MeBook's like, okay, guys, we got our stuff back. Oh, there's a lot of people here. And they're looking around and they're like, holy crap. And it is even better to argue that HiRead, which is using old Boyu products, is doing a better job now than MeBook making their own things. You know what I mean, man? It's just like the landscape has done a 180 and everyone's in the mix.
Everything's in the mix, y'all. All right.
There's so much stuff, and I'm running out of brain.
Yeah. So we'll wrap today's show off. Thanks everyone for listening. You'll be able to listen to this podcast both on our website, goodyreader.com, where we publish 4 to 6 stories every single day. You can check out our YouTube channel, youtube.com/goodyreader, for all the latest unboxings, news, previews, and device comparisons. And of course, this podcast is available on Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and all of your other favorite distribution methods. So thanks for listening, and we will be doing this show on podcasts every month and kind of give you an overview of what's transpired over the last month of note, as well as breaking news. So thanks for listening, and for Goody Reader, my name is Michael.
And this is Peter.
Everybody take care.